We can speak now to Paul Kelly, the Deputy Leader of North Lanarkshire Council. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Paul, it seems that Lanarkshire's decision, Nicola Sturgeon said, was a borderline one, only missed really going into level 4 because of the reassurances largely that she'd been given that restrictions there could be controlled. So it sounds like a narrow escape.
Yeah, I think what's happened here is obviously the good partnership work in Lanarkshire and NHS Lanarkshire and the police, etc., and the councils. We made a strong case based on the evidence from public health, very strong case about the current data that why we should be in level 3. And it is heartening that the government has taken this on board to be making the decision on which level applies to Lanarkshire, and we appreciate those constructive discussions have led to what we think at this stage is the right level. And obviously, as the First Minister said, it will be assessed on a daily basis.
Indeed. But the number of cases, the percentage of positive tests, she said, were all of great concern in Lanarkshire at the moment. Are you confident that this can be managed?
I think in discussion with the experts who are in public health, they are confident that the level of cases has started to fall. They believe the peak may have passed and that there is capacity within the hospital system to cope with the situation. However, now it's really important that the message to residents in North Lanarkshire is to comply with the guidance, because the last thing we want is the number of positive cases to increase and then for further restrictions to be placed upon us. I think people and businesses are already witnessing firsthand the restrictions that we've had, and the only way for us all to move out of this is to stick with these guidelines.
I mean, how do you encourage people to comply with this? It's been noted in Lanarkshire that there have been a number of house parties which have led to some of the rise in cases. Will the police and other agencies have to react differently, take a stronger approach to this now to make sure people comply?
Well, what I would say in Lanarkshire, the police have done a fantastic job alongside council services in making that compliance and working with the public. And actually, the Lanarkshire public have tried very, very hard to comply, like many areas across the country. But we've seen how close it is for us to be put into very restrictive measures at level 4, which would have had a real big impact, further impact in a negative way on the community. So let's come together as a community. Let's work as hard as we can to reduce the cases so that we're also protecting people who are vulnerable from COVID, whether it's older people or people with underlying health conditions who can get seriously ill or worse. So let's work together to protect our community and protect our residents.
And we spoke on this programme to people from business groups in Lanarkshire earlier in the week, who talked about businesses there really only having enough cash to last the next fortnight or so. Just what impact do you think moving into level 4 would have in your area?
Well, it would have had an absolute significant impact, further impact in businesses, employment and residents. There's no doubt about that at all. However, level 3, which is roughly where we've been the last few weeks, is still having a phenomenal negative impact on our businesses and employment and residents. And one of the things that's not come out today is local authorities and councils have been clear, we need a commitment to additional funding so we can support businesses and support our communities. And so I think the next stage for us is we need urgent discussions with the Scottish Government around what funding they're going to put in place. This is critical to protect residents and make sure we can get through this. And as I say, in the framework they've put forward, the draft framework, they've said there is no further money coming to councils in either level 3 or level 4, and that's, I'm afraid, an unacceptable position.
So what are you going to do off the back of that if there's no money there? How will you manage to squeeze more money out of the government?
Well, I think the government have said this is to do with the UK government, and really to protect residents, protect businesses, because a lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of low-paid workers around ended up in situations of poverty because of some of these decisions. We're asking the UK and Scottish Government to put aside the politics, to park it, to actually work together, get financial packages in place that can actually protect our communities. And we'll start as a council having discussions with COSLA, which is all the councils together, to put that pressure on the government, because without that funding and support, there is people out there in our communities in North Lanarkshire who are really struggling. Businesses, as you say, who don't have the cash flow to continue, and even under level 3 will struggle to come out of it.
And do you think the Scottish Government should or could be lobbying harder for more cash from Westminster?
I think what happens with discussions in Scottish and UK government is they get bogged down in politics because they dislike each other, and that's at the forefront of everything. This is a national pandemic. a situation like we haven't seen since the Second World War. We need to come together. We need to work together. The UK government certainly needs to do a lot more to fund the measures around the pandemic, and the Scottish government needs to work constructively as best they can. We're open to constructive dialogue with the Scottish government, because if we don't have this additional funding, people in our communities are going to suffer.
How much more funding are you talking about?
Well, I can't commit to how much more, because quite frankly we've had no discussion with the Scottish Government. They've not had open to any dialogue around funding. So what we'd like to do away from today is have that dialogue, that constructive dialogue, to say this is the situation we face. I think businesses have been critical that they haven't had dialogue with the business world in terms of the impact it's having. And a lot of small businesses, this isn't major businesses, small businesses who don't have enough cash flow, as you say, and that impacts on some low-paid workers who then lose their jobs and the support isn't there for them. So I wouldn't want to put a figure on it, but what I think we need to do is urgently have that discussion.
OK, well, thank you very much for speaking to us this lunchtime. Paul Kelly there, he's Deputy Leader of North Lanarkshire.